do you determine what is the right price to quote to a client? Or, I don't know what I did, but I didn't earn what I anticipated. Do you have any ideas? There are the top 2 price-related questions I get asked. I don't know about you, but I've struggled coming up with the right price. There are 5 basic pricing models, each with pros and cons, and a number of variations to each of them. Let me discuss the 5 basic pricing models and provide some insight into each one so that you can determine what is the right model or models for you. Hi, I'm Laura Burford, founder of Laura's Consulting Guide, and I'm here to provide you some insights into the 5 pricing models. Some people say to me, isn't there one right pricing model, one model that I can use all the time? No, I'm sorry, there isn't one right pricing model. You need to decide what is the right pricing model for you to use for that particular situation. And what you're going to take into account is your service offering and your approach, your client, your ideal client criteria, and you. What do you feel comfortable with? It's the sitting back and looking at the situation that will help you determine what is the right model to use. The 5 basic models are time and expense, fixed price, value-based, risk-reward, and retainer. That's it, 5. You need to determine which of those 5 works for you and what you do. 2 of those models are considered cost-based models, time and expense, and fixed price. What that means is the price you come up with is based on the cost of the services to you. You need to have a solid hourly rate, an hourly cost that you use as you come up with the right price. The other 3 models, value-based, risk-reward, and retainer, are service-oriented models. You determine the price you quote to the client based on the value of the services you provide to that client. Let's start with the cost models. The first cost model, time and expense. This is the easiest of the 5 models to understand. In this model, the consultant quotes an hourly or daily rate to the client. The consultant invoices the client based on that daily and hourly rate for the work performed plus expenses. This is a low-risk model for a consultant. The client absorbs the risk for the project. The negative for the client is they don't have a total dollar amount that the consultant is going to invoice them. This is a great model for high-risk initiatives, for new initiatives, for any type of project that is difficult to wrap your arms around and determine what the level of effort is going to be. The second cost model is fixed price, or what some people call firm price. In this model, the consultant provides the client an all-inclusive price. And when I say all-inclusive, it includes expenses. This is an ideal model for the consultant if they have a standardized methodology. They have templates. They have historical data that they can rely on to estimate the cost. You see this model used a lot for software implementation, construction, research projects, anything for which is repetitive. This model can be high risk for a consultant if they do not know how to put together a project plan that takes into account risk. And part of that is making sure you have all the requirements, the expectations, the success factors. For the client, this is a great model because they have a fixed price. They have a total dollar number that they can budget. The 2 cost models are time and expense and fixed price. Here's a challenge. Both these models require the consultant to make sure their cost, their hourly rate, is right, is accurate. I've watched many a consultant make mistakes with both these models because they don't get that one number right. I've added a YouTube video to the site titled How to Determine Your Hourly Rate. This is from one of the courses Please go out and help yourself. Listen to it if you would like. I call that rate the sanity check rate, because that might not necessarily be the rate you use to come up with a quote for a client using either the time and expense or fixed price model. But it's a sanity check rate. It's a starting point. If you have any questions or comments about either of the cost models, please jot them below. And now for the 3 value-based models. The first one is actually called value-based. It is also referred to as the partnership model or the win-win model. It is an ideal model for a client that's looking for a trusted advisor, somebody who has experience and expertise in a particular area. The client is looking for somebody to work with them, to collaborate with them, so that they are successful. The client and the consultant discuss the project together, they determine success together, and they mitigate risk together. The consultant determines a price based on a conversation with the client. They determine what the value of the project is to the client, to the organization. It is a relationship model. I do not recommend this model if you, the consultant, does not have a relationship, a solid relationship with the client. The 4th model is called risk-reward or success fee. I'm going to explain this from a conceptual basis because there are a number of variations to this model. In theory, the consultant does not get paid until the project is complete, and not until the success of the project is determined. It is a high risk, high reward model for the consultant. High risk, you don't get paid until the project's complete. High reward, because you get paid a high percentage of the value of the project to the client, to the organization. It is not a relationship model at all, and basically the consultant absorbs all the risk and the client none. The last model is the retainer model. The retainer model is the only model of the 5 that is not project oriented. It is advisory services. I call it the insurance policy model. In this model, the client is looking for somebody that they can rely on who has experience and expertise in a particular area. It is an ideal model for both the client and the consultant. From the consultant's perspective, they get paid on a regular basis. They need to be available to help the client with their knowledge and expertise. They leverage what they know. The client likes the model because they know they have somebody in their back pocket, the insurance. From the consultant's perspective, there is a risk because they have to be careful to not take on too many people on a retainer basis, or too many clients on a retainer basis. And they also need to make sure they outline the parameters of the engagement up front. What type of questions can they ask? What are the time frames for calling? Parameters. The 3 value-based models are value-based, risk-reward, and retainer. If you have any questions or comments, notate them below. To recap, when determining what is the right price to quote to a client for a project and engagement, take a step back and evaluate the initiative. Think about your service offering, your approach, your client, their appetite for pricing, and you. What do you feel comfortable with? And then determine what is the right pricing model or models to use to quote a price. There are 5 basic pricing models: time and expense, fixed price, value-based, risk-reward, and retainer. Each has pros and cons. Some work better in a particular situation than another, and there's variations of each one. 2 of the models, time and expense and fixed price, are considered cost-based models. The other 3 models, value-based, risk-reward, and retainer, are value-based models. I've used all of the models. They're all good, and I've had success with all the models. But I'll be honest, there are certain models that I prefer to use based on me and my service offering and my clients. Over time, there is a good chance that you will come up with models you prefer over other models. Hopefully, this has provided you an insight into each of the models. I'll be honest, I only scratched the surface. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can leave a comment below or a question below to either me or somebody else. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I do appreciate it. If you found this consulting insight helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel. You'll be notified when the next one is released. If you like the video, like it, and don't hesitate to share this video with somebody you know who might be struggling to determine what is the right price to quote to a client.